Welcome once again to How to Relate to Anyone. Here is Dr. Orv Owens.
Well, hello again, and we welcome you to a program that's going to talk about your friends. It's not really gossip, but we're going to talk about how to relate to those people who are what we call outward relationship. Now, we've looked at the inward, how you relate to yourself, upward, how you relate to authority, downward, how you relate to those you have authority over. But there's that peer group, or friends, or even siblings in many cases, that are what I call an outward relationship. You're not responsible for them, they're not responsible for you. In the downward relationship, people who are in a downward relationship to somebody, they're responsible for productivity and development of those subordinates. In an upward relationship, it's required to subordinate to carry out orders and directives and so on. But in an outward relationship, a peer level, the landscape kind of changes regularly. Sometimes you know something that no one else in the group knows, and so they say, tell us more. And by saying, tell us more, they've actually put you in an upward relationship to them. Other times, there's somebody who is very knowledgeable in an area that you're not knowledgeable in, and you're asking questions, and now you've put that person above you in knowledge. So it's an upward relationship, but it's temporary and it's informal. It's not a formalized, positional type thing. So fellow employees are peers, but at times, they become you subordinate yourself to them, or they subordinate themselves to you. And in doing so, sometimes it gets confusing. Sometimes people with knowledge become a little pushy, pushing their knowledge with people who are peers. And the peer, in whatever case that is, resents that. Who do you think you are telling me what to do? Who made you king of the castle? That type of attitude. When you have that type of attitude, relationships break down and there's zero productivity. The ability to relate well to peers, whether they're using some of their knowledge and giving that knowledge for a project or a circumstance or a situation that you're dealing with, or whether they're in a subordinate role to you and they've given you recognition for your knowledge, and you are kind of becoming, for the moment, in a leadership role, leading them into the knowledge that you have that they do not have to get this project or this situation solved or completed. Productivity comes from good working relationships and recognizing who has the lead at the moment, who has the knowledge, who has the experience, who has what it takes to get the job done. And to be able to play those roles back and forth without resentment or becoming a little bit cranky. Sometimes it's far more than a little bit. Creates a positive working relationships. That's what good working relationships are all about. We call it teamwork in sports, but it's also teamwork in the corporate world. And you have to realize you don't have all knowledge. There are people who know things you don't know, and you lean on them. You expect them to be able to feed you that information, and in feeding you that information, they can help you be productive in those areas. So we call it recognized knowledge. You recognize somebody for their knowledge in a particular area or part of an area of a project that you're working on. And you give them, we would call it temporary authority, really. It's authority to lead in that area of their expertise. Some people have difficulty with this, especially when who do you think you are telling me what to do type attitude shows itself. And that's questioning the positional or knowledgeable authority that that person has that's sharing the information that the organization or the group needs to be productive. And that creates conflicts and resentments and sometimes debates and arguments even, and hurt feelings and all the negative stuff that comes with all of that. Being able to be highly productive requires that the whole team subordinates themselves to the person who has the greatest knowledge in achieving the goal of the moment, whatever that is. I'm sitting in front of a camera here talking to you. Behind the camera is a guy who has been doing camera work for a number of years. He has a company that he does all kinds of shoots. He's done the seafair boats and all kinds. His knowledge of how to run a camera and all the things that go with that and the sound and everything is what I count on and depend upon in producing this program. And in every project you have people that excel in certain areas, and you build a team, and that team is what makes things work and productive. But you have to be a team player. That means you cannot resent people who say, what I need you to do is this. Well, who do you think you are telling me what to do? That who do you think you are breaks down relationships, breaks down productivity, and literally causes confusion and delays. Sometimes even have to replace some people on the team just because they're not fitting in. So communicating with other people is always a challenge, because we always communicate based upon our own frame of reference. My knowledge, my experience, what worked for me and what didn't work for me, I think you should know about that. Well, you might not want to know. So what we really have going is what I call conversational authority. It's conversational authority, which means whatever you know that I don't know, I want you to tell me that story so I can have that same knowledge and work based upon the knowledge you're giving the team. And that creates a high level of productivity. And it's called recognized authority. Recognize you as a knowledgeable person in that area, and I'm counting on you to keep us as an organization moving in the right direction in that area where you have expertise. Peer help to answer any problems or any directives or any direction we're going is what makes an organization work. And it's vitally important that we cannot let personal feelings and egos get in the way. And the ego thing is a real problem with some people. I'm as qualified as you are. Why are you telling me what to do? So, how to question decisions, plus and minus, is something I want to talk about for just a moment. A good question is, tell me more, or are you saying blah, 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 blah? So I'm clarifying what you have said so that I get it in my head so I can do my part in what we're trying to achieve. Questioning is when I say, who do you think you are to tell me what to do? We want the questioning to go away and the good questions, so clarification questions should be entertained and encouraged. So the whole team has knowledge and are learning those things they didn't know a moment ago. We count on that. We call it temporary project management. It might be for 1 or 2 sentences. It might be for 15 minutes working through a particular part on that. None of us can know everything, and we want to build a team, always build a team with people with different strengths than our own. I was talking to a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Now understand, this guy is a multi-millionaire, and he has all this responsibility for hundreds of thousands of people, plus projects and products and so on. Fortune 500 company, he's at the top. That's a lot of authority. And he said to me back in the privacy of his suite, his office, which is huge, he said, you know, I'm this far away from people knowing how incapable I am, how little knowledge I have. And he said, it keeps me awake nights. And I said, well, see, what you're not understanding is your role. You are the glue that holds all these people who have all this great knowledge together. And when you can get this person to do their best and this person to do their best, and you have your 10 or 12 vice presidents or senior vice presidents to answer directly to you, if you can get them to rally around what you're trying to achieve with the latest goals, that's what you're all about. That's called being a CEO, and it's being a leader. You don't have to know everything. You have to know people who know everything. And knowing people who know what you don't know and being able to get them to team up with you is how we become highly productive and highly creative and achieve great and wonderful things. Delegated authority is when somebody has been given authority for the moment, and we all rally around that person's knowledge and their authority, and they can tell us, I need you to do this, and you to do this, and you to do this in order to get this job done. It's a temporary thing. It's one situation, but it's vitally important that everybody recognizes the authority of the person that has that knowledge. And that way everybody can be a part of the project, whatever the project is, and be highly successful and get recognition for the finished product or the finished project, because we worked together and made it all happen. The structure that creates that kind of a working relationship is what a lot of companies fail to do. If you have a small company or a medium-sized company, the tendency is to be friendly and friends with and so on. And in some cases, there's some confusion on lines of authority and how to subordinate to the person who has the greatest knowledge on a project at this given time. And so as a leader, if you have your own company and you're the president, or if you're a department head, you need to make sure that every person on your team understands that we are a team, and we lean heavily on the people who know what they know. Because if we can lean on them, we're going to save time, we're going to do things right the first time, we're going to have a high level of productivity, we're going to turn out quality products. All those things are good things. And that makes profitability go up, and profitability, of course, is what creates stability, and stability creates a lifestyle for all those people who are involved in the organization. So when we recognize people who have temporary authority, we call it authority by knowledge, because they happen to know something I don't know. Then we can be a highly productive organization because we're leaning on the strengths of each person, each team member, and not allowing our own egos to get in the way of creating working relationships. It requires acceptance of the structure of recognized authority, and it needs to be clarified from the top down. So in a corporate structure, if you're in a leadership role, if you have position authority, the downward relationship, you need to make sure all of the people in your organization understand working relationships. And temporary authority and we subordinate or submit to the person who has that temporary authority. It's a difficult one because there's often confusion. The confusion goes away when people in a leadership role clarify these lines of temporary authority and how it works. Go over this lesson again because it's one that's really very important to you, very important to your staff, and very important to create a high level of productivity, good working relationships, and unity within your organization. And that's our goal.